What is up, y'all? Kevin Kuhn here from Athlete Factors. This is the Athlete Factors podcast, and this is the first episode of 2021. So, first of all, thank y'all for joining me today. I'm really excited to talk about this upcoming year, some of the goals I have, and some of the guests that I plan on getting on. So, let's dive right into it. So, first and foremost, I'm honestly not a huge fan of New Year's resolutions, so I tend not to talk about them or make any, just because, for me at least, they seem like a fairly temporary thing. I can't tell you how many clients that I've earned business from, let's say, in January and into February, and then I don't see for another 8 to 10 months until the next year starts. So not a huge fan of that. And I think just coming from perhaps the world of corporate fitness, maybe that's more of a common idea or more of a common thing. So perhaps because of that, and that's kind of how I got my start in this business, maybe I'm a little jaded because of that. So I tend not to think about New Year's resolutions, but I am pretty big on goals. So I just wanted to share with y'all some of the goals that I have. I think it's a really good idea to make at least some of your goals public, just because that helps a ton with accountability. If you're going to put something like that out there, it really helps if you make it known, because then people can hold you to it. So some of the goals that I've made for myself this year are they're kind of tied together. So the first one is, for those of y'all that don't know, I start work usually at 5 or 5:30 in the morning, so I'm usually up at 4:30. Because of that, it's really important for me to get to sleep early. Otherwise, I need a nap in the middle of the day. So that being said, my first goal is to get to sleep before 10 p.m. And my second goal, which is kind of tied to that, is I want to stop looking at my phone at least by 9. So I tend to either watch TV or scroll around on my phone. And my goal for this year is, instead of spending, the last hour or two looking at a screen, I'm going to try spending more time reading. So that's kind of the plan. So I've got those two goals. I've got obviously some business goals and financial goals, as well as goals for some of my clients. And some of those are not necessarily things that I want to put out into the World Wide Web, but I still think it's important to share those goals with people in my life. So I've talked about some of these goals with my girlfriend, with some of my friends, other strength coaches, other business professionals, let's say. And I do that so that they can keep me accountable. So that being said, I just wanted to bring up this topic and talk about this specifically because I get really motivated when I see other people set really lofty goals. It's easy to set goals like, I want to make more money, or I want to work with more clients, or I want to put 5 pounds on my squat, or I want to run 30 seconds faster for 5K. Those are all great goals. Sometimes we, especially me, I won't say we, I personally set goals that are comfortable. Like they're goals because I haven't necessarily reached that yet, but maybe they're not really lofty. Maybe they're not stretching me enough that I really have to work for it. So yeah. So I'm curious what goals you have set for this year, and are they comfortable, or are they lofty enough that you've really got to plan out your strategy to achieve them. Because some goals that I set previously, I didn't really have to plan a whole lot for it. I had it in my mind. Like, I'm going to run this fast for this distance, or I'm going to lift this amount of weight for this specific exercise. But I didn't necessarily plan it out. Or it was relatively easy. I reached that within a couple weeks or maybe even a few months. And then I was done. So because I think about these things, and because I've definitely set myself up to put myself in these positions where I haven't had to work the whole year, or I've made goals that are a little too easy. They're a little too attainable. I wanted to let y'all know that, so that you can all keep me accountable. So that being said, like I mentioned before, what goals do you have? So please let me know. If there's something that you want to put out there, please feel free to share it. I'm interested. I want to know. And yeah, so it's a pretty short episode today. That's kind of all I really wanted to talk about as far as the topic goes. With regards to upcoming guests, I'm really excited this year. I've got some really fun topics that we're going to cover, including the idea of psychedelics as potential ergogenic aids. That's going to be awesome. Why or why not, right? Like, what's the pros and cons or the trade-offs of getting metabolic testing done? That should be a really good topic. We're going to talk a little bit about soft tissue work, and specifically the idea of technique versus pressure, right? Do you want somebody who's just going to crank down on you real hard until you can't stand that amount of pain, or is there technique that's involved there? Yeah, got some other really, really good ones that I'm really pumped about. I've had a few people recommend topics and guests, and I'm really excited about those. So yeah, I'm trying to stay on top of my weekly podcast episode consistency. I did that relatively well last year, putting out just about an episode every week. So I'm going to try to keep that rolling. So I need y'all to keep me accountable on that. So thank you so much for watching or listening, and stay tuned for next week's episode and the rest of this year's podcast episodes. Alrighty, y'all. Adios.